Hello, everybody. This is our second installment of our grab bag. This is our weekly recommendations as far as comics, TV, movies, and whatnot, whatever suits our fancy. Plus, we usually have a YouTube channel or two that we like to recommend. And Mike, how's it going? This is Thomas, by the way.
Hey Thomas, I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. I was excited because since we've been doing the show and even this new format, it's pushed me to to get more in depth on a lot of storylines that I always wanted to read, but I forgot about that I wanted to cover, so it's definitely kept me a lot sharper, and I'm really enjoying those storylines now. For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is our second show, so like we're doing this, and this comes out on Wednesday. We hope everybody has a happy Wednesday. And then our other show is Thomas's walkthrough, first time view watch through of the Next Generation, and that is on Fridays. And we welcome any and all feedback.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're kind of finding our way. We're obviously trying to find the audience that wants to watch us. So yeah, if you're there, say hello. But yeah, I guess we'll tackle our comic book recommendations. This will come out Wednesday, same day as this video that we're doing here. It's Savage Avengers #1. This is the second series of it. Basically, Marvel got the rights to Conan the Barbarian back, and they launched a few different titles, and they wanted to capitalize on him. And the first series ran for about 28 episodes or issues. It was written by Gary Duggan, and I thought it was kind of silly bringing Conan to present day and forming an Avengers team with Wolverine and a few other guys. And so I got dipped out originally from that series, but I've since they ran a special on Comixology. The graphic novels were like $3 a piece, so I grabbed those up, and I was reading them, and they're actually pretty good. Gary Duggan is a pretty decent writer, and there's a scene where Doctor Doom invites Conan to his castle, and they have a dinner together, and that's I don't know, that just kind of tickled me in the right way. But this is the new series. It has a different writer and artist and everything. So I don't know. I'm not familiar with this writer. He looks like, from his previous work, it looks like he's relatively new. He doesn't even have a picture of himself on there.
Not on the
so
David.
Yeah.
David Pepos.
Yeah. So I don't know how good he is. I'll pick up the first issue, see how it goes, see if it's as good as the last series. But yeah, so this is kind of halfway recommend. If it sounds like something interesting, definitely check out the original series that completed a month or two back. That one's a definite recommend, but this one's sort of maybe place it on your radar.
And I just want to try to track that one down.
Yeah, that one's.
Let's see. It did conclude not too long ago.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's the relaunch of it. Yeah. But yeah, if you do Savage Avengers on Amazon, the first they have the first 5 volumes of that original series.
I'll put that up in later on. But in any case, this is a partial record, like fall. I think I'll probably wait on this one and see. I mean, I'll probably like read out 1 or 2 here or there, like to see It's intriguing, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Interesting. I oh, that reminds me of I forgot about that. I forgot to put this one out. Meanwhile, while I collect my thoughts, Savage Avengers. What was the? Did you want me to cover my next one, or did you want to jump into your next pick?
Oh, just to tag another element to Conan with Marvel. The other ongoing series they have currently with Conan is King Conan, which takes place in the later years of Conan, and well, when he's already taken over he has his own. He's king of Aquilana. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he has a son. But yeah, and that one's written by Jason Aaron, and so far it's been pretty good.
Okay, very cool.
But yeah, that's the other Conan, and but yeah,
Cold King,
but yeah,
Conan.
yeah, yeah. You can go ahead and hit on one of your recommends if you want.
I'll make sure I pull this up
Oh,
here. Like, was this
okay.
the one you were just talking about?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool. But this one is a recommend for sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, awesome. Yeah, yeah, sure. Let me jump into Flashpoint. I think this is one I think you recommended or were
Mhm.
loosely covered.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I had to read this because it just stood out, and
Mhm.
it was really good. And I really enjoyed it, and it's actually it's very interesting because this is I think that this Batman is very interesting take, and it continues that theme going on of what Batman is and means and all that kind of stuff. But in any case, it's good. It's good. I don't.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's definitely not like the normal kind of universe that you're expecting for any of these characters and how they interact.
Mhm.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, and yeah, and this one instead of Bruce Wayne Batman, it's Thomas Wayne Batman.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's in an alternate universe where he survived and Bruce Wayne did not, and his goal is to bring back the reality where Bruce Wayne survives, which is actually very interesting idea where it's like he wants to sacrifice himself to bring back his son, which is a very noble thing to do, and he's sort of a tortured spirit in that he became Batman for revenge since his son was killed, and he's trying to take his revenge on those people that he took revenge on the person that killed his son, plus all others that are like that person.
Exactly. Yeah. There is a scene here that I was trying to look for, like where in this universe, Penguin is like his butler or his henchman. I
Yeah,
guess
his right hand man.
his
Yeah.
his chief of staff.
Hmm. Yeah.
But he's got a yeah, there it is. All right. I just wanted to, 'cause it's just so funny. There's just certain things that you wouldn't think. And he leaves him. He's like, just take care of the kid. Just take care of him. He comes back eventually, and he sees that this kid is being allowed to shoot a firearm like in the middle of like Wayne Mansion essentially by his chief of his right hand man Penguin. Just, I got a kick out of the artwork out of I love that. I just wanted to kind of pull that up, share it. It was just like I really enjoy this one. I definitely will be following along on the storyline for sure. It's I think I that I oh, I don't think I'm actually starting to use this website more too to kind of keep track of, because it's hard to keep track of this stuff.
Oh yeah,
Like, as
definitely.
we'll get into, like like it's just like putting down notes and stuff is good, but anyway, I could go on. But with that, I'll rest my case, and then I'll let you swing over. Now, this one that we saw, I read a lot of DC, and like this one was plastered like as an internal advertisement all over the place, and it almost made me want to read it, but you did. And what
Yes.
were your and then what was that? This one?
Jurassic League. Yeah. It's a it's basically prehistoric Justice League. And the thing, it's a goofy concept, obviously.
Sure.
But it's written by Daniel Warren Johnson, who is both a writer and artist. And I think that's his cover. He did one of the variant covers. But it would, I wasn't sure if I was going to get it because if he was writing and drawing it,
Yeah.
I was all in. But yeah, since he was only writing it, I was kind of hesitant. So once I got in the store and looked at it and flipped through it, because he does that cover. That's Daniel Warren Johnson's artwork.
Good
And then
artwork.
yeah, he's a great artist. Yeah, he usually writes and draws his stuff. So he's not drawing this one. That Gideon is the artist. But when I flipped through it, the artist was doing sort of his take on Daniel Warren Johnson's art.
Oh, okay.
His artwork's so similar to that one Gideon, I think is his name. His artwork is so similar to Daniel Warren Johnson that it really kind of complemented his writing, and it's goofy but it's good, and
Yeah.
it's goofy serious. So like there's it opens with the battle between the Batman dinosaur and the Joker dinosaur, and it's a pretty bloody battle. It's definitely not for kids. I wouldn't say. But yeah, that's Joker dinosaur is something
That's
else.
awesome. This,
But yeah.
this kind of makes me want to play Primal Rage, the old school game, like way back,
Mhm,
way back in the day. It was an arcade one that kind of was
mhm.
lower middle tier, I think, but it kind of slipped up under. But it's just I love the artwork. That's cool. So this
Yeah.
is a recommendation,
Yeah, I know a
full
lot of
recommend.
people. Yeah, I would say yeah, definitely. If you're into weird stuff, if you're if the idea kind of tickles your fancy, then definitely take a look at it. It's definitely worth it. It's there's sometimes like sometimes when you do something like this, okay, Jurassic Park or Jurassic you Justice League as dinosaurs. A lot of times that's it, that's the whole idea,
Mhm.
and the story is just there's nothing to it, and it's just goofy, and it's just
Right.
dinosaur Batman, dinosaur Superman. Whereas this actually has a story, and it's thought out, and so it takes the idea and makes it into something. So yeah,
You'd say
if
it has some teeth.
yeah, definitely, it definitely has teeth, and there's like a huge splash page with the dinosaur Aquaman, and that was probably worth the price of the book in and of
All right.
itself. So
All right.
yeah, I would definitely recommend it for those that are adventurous and think this is kind of a cool idea. Take a look. If you're just totally turned off by it, I don't, even though the story is really good, I don't think it's gonna win you over just if you're just totally against it by
Yeah.
by the very concept. But if the concept intrigues you, I think the story will deliver for you.
This is the kind of comics that I love, like that they can get away with, like whether it's not super serious, it's just kind of like, and you can take or leave it, obviously, but
Mhm.
that's cool. I'm glad that they still do this, for
But
sure. Like it's
yeah, if you look at that cover, they're not going for the cartoony.
no, they're
Um,
not.
they're not going for the cartoony dinosaurs. So, like you said, it does have teeth, and like that Triceratops Wonder Woman is something else.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That
yeah.
is, yeah, something else. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, I will. I guess I'll hop on this one. I think Batman Killing Time 3. Yep. Here we are. This one was also one like I think you recommended. I think or I
Nope.
can't remember if you did. Okay,
Nope.
okay, cool. This was the one that because I had the two Batmans and the one Flashpoint one, and I couldn't. Okay, I got it mixed up. All right. Yeah, this one, this Killing Time is a series. I don't. This is I'm still getting in there and exploring the past. I think I've read this one and the one before this one. I haven't read one yet, but that's okay. Like it's still the storyline is really good. It's basically this also kind of there's this foe called the Help, and it's supposed to be this uber ultra awesome, some kind of warrior, and basically goes toe to toe with Batman. And the whole premise is it's kind of like Memento. It's kind of like that. It's moving backwards, which just kind of takes a minute to get used to. But it's also like that's also how use of weapons. Ian M. Banks he writes this novel like that, which is very interesting. But that's different concepts of playing with time and going backwards or forwards of Tenet as well, where time has kind of become its own character in the film, so to speak. But this is kind of going backwards, and it's has to do with this, and there's some other usuals like Catwoman and the artwork is pretty darn good. If I was thinking better, I have the somewhere in here, but in any case, yeah, Killing Time. Oh, yeah, that's it. But this artwork was pretty. See, this was like what I was talking about. Like I mean, it was everywhere. Speaking of, that would have been a good segue.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of just that and you're learning how the Help is tied into this for versus Batman and kind of like this backwards forwards kind of forwards backwards kind of movement through the thing. But I recommend it. I don't know much about Tom King. I don't know much about David Marquez. But I like what I saw. It's compelling enough for me to stick around and finish the storyline. I hope anyway.
I've tried a couple of series by Tom King. He's not to my taste. That's the main reason why I skipped over this one. I saw the writer and skipped over it. It still could be like a really good story. I'm just more hesitant around Tom King. Once you get burned a couple of times, yeah, it's hard to go a third time. Yeah.
Yeah, is it like this the best Batman ever? And my brother-in-law recommended another one that I'm currently catching up on, and it may make an appearance from a few years back. But it's just interesting to see Batman in different situations, I guess. Like he definitely was on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Some of it's very, very quick paced, even for a comic book, a little bit. If I would have any criticism, maybe, but not much. Not it hasn't stuck out yet. Like I said, takes a minute to get used to like the flow of the comic book, and you have to kind of read it, a time or two to kind of. It's not that hard, but to kind of put the bigger story. I would probably have to reread this one. Like when the next one comes out, I'll probably have to reread it to remind myself to catch up. But that's probably the only thing that like I get waffly on. Sorry, but I'm not the world's best comic book reader anyway or fan. So there you go. But artwork I liked. I think it worked. The other criticism I would have is this is very much you have some kind of a strong villain. Like this. In comic books, do this all from time to time. Like they will essentially create a character that essentially has no limits, and then all of a sudden in another series, like 2 or 3 years from now, like all of a sudden, like they have like no powers or their powers are greatly weakened, and that's probably the only criticism I have about that. But then that's aimed at the villain. But it's good. So I'll stick around. I guess I would call this one a half recommend. But I'd say full recommend if you're not familiar with any of it and you just want a interesting Batman storyline. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. We'll see. But it hasn't turned me off yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the only other, I only had like one more kind of like, and I kind of last minute, but was one of the West Coast Avengers, and I have to find the right series, but the reason, well, did you have another one that you want to cover while I look for, like, I just want to
Mhm.
spend like 2 minutes on it, and then we can move on. But
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I brought up the Spawn Compendium last week, and I did finish it over the weekend. So I've finished the first 100 issues of the Spawn series, um, and then they're coming out with the third compendium in August, and then the last one or the fourth one in December. I think they're going to have at least a couple more after that. So by December they'll have the fourth one out, so that'll bring it up to 200 issues of Spawn. So hopefully I'll get those two and get 200 issues of Spawn read by the end of the year.
awesome. Spawn.
Oh, I think there's only one P.
Spelling.
uh, yeah, yeah.
But
Spell it. Yeah. There you go. But like I was saying with the Spawn series, the yeah, that's volume one. It collects 50 issues. And each volume has 50 issues. So the only bad thing is they don't include the covers, but that's 50 issues. That would be at least 50 more pages, and then you know with the odd splash pages and everything, it would you that would probably tack on at least close to maybe 100 more pages. So I can see why they nixed the covers, but it would also have been great to have them. But they're available online, so you can take a look at the covers there. But yeah, if that kills your enthusiasm over this, then maybe skip over it. Now, if you have the original series bagged and board, that's nothing's going to beat your original copies of it. But it is paperback, but so if you're like me, you have to be a little extra careful while reading a over 1,000-page book. But but yeah, it's you do get plenty of Spawn for your money there.
I agree with that. Yeah, I do like it when they put the covers in there. And I
Mhm.
was catching up on a older Lois and Clark, or Superman and Lois compendium,
Mhm.
and again, they had the covers in there, and they're greatly appreciated for sure. Like it's
Mhm.
nice to have them, and
Yeah.
but so usually you get, but that's okay. Like you said, if you don't want
Mhm.
to, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, the only other one I wanted to do was the West Coast Avengers, and this
Mhm.
is the more modern iteration of them, like from 2018 to 2019. Um,
Mhm.
Excuse me, holy cow! Oh, it inserts that. That's kind of nice. It inserts it kind of. 20.
Mhm.
But there's like a 10 issue run, and it's basically. Oh boy, what is this? No, I guess not. Okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just do some Google foo here.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point that I wanted to say, this is essentially like where, and this is in reference to one of the movies that just came out. Like I was curious because I had not had exposure to that character, and that was um, Bolivia Chavez, America Chavez.
American Chavez. Yeah.
Yeah, El Salvador Chavez, South America Chavez. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. But this is kind of like the initial introduction of that character, or one of them anyway. And I
Mhm.
just, I'm about halfway through, and It's interesting. It's not a slog. I wouldn't say it that way, but it's interesting.
Mm,
This is an older series too. Like again, this is from 2018 and 2019, and a
mhm,
10 issue run like Avengers. The series here, from 1 to 10. It's interesting.
yeah.
It's not my taste, to be honest, but it's
Yeah.
it's half
Yeah.
recommend just from a history standpoint of like just
Right.
getting more familiar with the characters and whatnot. You really only get a surface level brush with that character,
Mhm.
from what I'm finding, unless they play a more prominent role toward the end half of the
Yeah.
issues. But it's just interesting to kind of step outside and see what is this character about instead of like watching. Like normally, what I would do is I would watch a YouTube video and like one of my favorite comic book guys and like to learn more about the character, and they pretty much tell you the storyline and that's it. But it's just interesting.
Yeah. I haven't read that series. It just didn't appeal to me, but yeah, I did. There is a YouTube video of one of the guys that I watch, and I think he roasted one of the issues. It seemed seemed a little interesting there, but yeah, it didn't it didn't make me want to read it
Yeah,
from what
there
he said.
there's a strong lead in. Like your narrator is essentially Hawkeye, the female Hawkeye, and the other male Hawkeye is on the team too, kind of sort of, but not really. But the female Hawkeye is like very sassy and kind of whatever. It's just interesting. It's just
Yeah,
interesting. Like
yeah, and one of his complaints, I think, about this book and a lot of current comic books is that they all, especially the female characters, they all talk like a Josh Whedon Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode.
okay, interesting.
Sort of that sassy, knows everything sort of attitude sort of
Definitely.
thing.
Yeah, it's definitely in here. And then, but I don't know. It's just interesting. It's just interesting. So like and that's kind of like, it's just easier for me to parachute into a storyline and be like, oh, okay, academically, I know this storyline for this character. And then sometimes you kind of see like, I don't think this one is going to be around in 20 years. Like, I don't think people are going to be talking about it other than an obscure
Mhm,
footnote, to be honest with you. But
mhm.
and that's not me, taking a big, taking a as
Swipe at
the
it.
yeah, taking a long piss, as the English say. Like that's not me. It's just comic books have spectrums and they're different calibers, and this is like one of the weaker ones, just being honest. But that
Mhm,
doesn't mean there's not a value in it. It's just
mhm,
interesting, and
mhm,
I'm trying to develop more of a more modern comic book background base for some of the Marvel stuff. Like, we're like, well, what do we talk about? Like, they've had more than a decade since 2008, 2009, to be under the Disney Marvel banner, to generate endless storylines from new characters and new things. And the thing that people forget though about comic books are like, even before this, even in the 90s when the storylines were even more worse, in some way, in quality ways, I guess. Like, it waxes and wanes. Sometimes you
mhm.
have like a load of junk. And I wouldn't necessarily call this junk, but it's like I said, I don't think nobody's gonna be talking about this in 20 years, like versus you know, I don't know, Ultimate. I don't know. Like, I'm just pulling out a random Marvel one.
Mhm,
Ultimate Avengers. Like, that was a story arc in the early OOs. I remember. I
mhm.
didn't read all of it, but I remember it.
Yeah.
That predates the Disney Marvel. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
But and you had sent me another link here too. I was trying
Mhm.
to come up with it here.
Yeah, something to kind of chuckle over, and also um kind of talk a little bit about. It's the 60th anniversary of this year. It's the 60th anniversary of Spider-Man, Thor, and the Hulk, and so they're coming out with Amazing Fantasy number 1000.
Okay. Okay.
There's
Interesting.
there's not 1,000 issues of Amazing Fantasy. they're trying to be cute because um DC actually had a thousandth issue of Action Comics come out, Detective Comics come out,
Okay.
and they were a huge sell. They sold a lot. So Marvel, so we don't have 1,000 issue of anything. So they're pretending like this is issue 1,000. I have no idea why they're saying it's 1,000. It would make complete sense to just say Amazing Fantasy 60th anniversary of Spider-Man. This is
Okay.
in August. When this comes out will be the 60th anniversary of Amazing Fantasy number 15 coming out with Spider-Man in it. And
Interesting.
and no one, it would sell just as well without having the number 1,000 on it. It's just very, very silly of them. Now, if you look at the people
That,
contributing to it, there's some big names there. You got
yeah,
Neil Gaiman, you got
absolutely.
Jonathan Hickman, Kurt Busiek, and Dan Slott. But the only name that jumps out at me as a major contributor to Spider-Man is Dan Slott. He's
Yeah.
probably written the most Spider-Man stories. But where's your Roy Thomas? Where's your Peter David? Where's your Roger Stern? These guys are still around, still writing, and they've had a major influence on Spider-Man. I don't know. They missed their opportunity. Why didn't they get, of course Stan Lee and Steve Ditko has passed away, but I mean Roy Thomas is still around and as vital as ever, and he's probably one of the if not the biggest legend in Marvel that's still alive. And
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't.
we'll have to see. Like, I agree with you. Like the gimmicky factor, like the fact that Neil Gaiman is on here. He is a big, huge name.
Mhm.
So like they, and maybe this is a criticism that you have too many number zeros and number ones out currently, or you have a tendency to do that a lot. And that's a slight against DC and Marvel because they both played that game from time to time, like where the numbering just doesn't make any damn sense. And but
Well, in
it'll be
the
interesting to see.
number 100 or 900 of Amazing Spider-Man comes out in another month or so.
Oh,
So I
really?
mean, so
Okay.
the 1,000th issue of Amazing Spider-Man is going to happen in just a few more years. So
Huh.
yeah, you can hold out for that. I mean, you
Interesting. I see your
don't
point.
need to
I see your point.
don't need to slap a fake 1,000 on on a copy of a comic. Just say this 60th anniversary of Amazing Fantasy with Spider-Man.
Yeah, they.
That's
Yeah, that would have made more sense than to
mhm,
randomly pull
yeah,
1,000 out of the air, especially
yeah,
when they're on the corner of
mhm,
900. In a
yeah,
couple of years.
yeah, and I'm sure the Neil Gaiman story is going to be good.
We'll see.
Jonathan Hickman, they're solid. I mean, they're great writers.
Oh yeah.
When you think of Neil Gaiman, you don't think Spider-Man.
Nope.
And yeah,
Think American
I,
gods, and you think of Norse
mm,
mythology and
Sandman, yeah.
yep,
Uh,
yeah,
but but yeah, why not throw in Peter David? Peter David's been writing a lot of stuff for Marvel lately. Have him do a 8-page story in there. It doesn't make sense. The people they've thrown in there to me, to be honest.
okay,
I still probably will pick it up because I do like a lot of those writers,
yeah, I will
but
too.
yeah, but I really wish they would thrown in more Spider-Man centric writers in there outside of Dan Slott.
Fair point. Fair point.
And even Dan Slott is a bit controversial. Some do not like a lot of his run on Spider-Man. So
Yeah,
eh,
I do. It's just for as a sci-fi reader for sure. I love Neil Gaiman's.
mhm,
Like there's
yep.
he's one of the one of the big strong ones nowadays, that he could pretty much do whatever he wants. So if he typically does something, then I would hope that it's still that there's still a level of quality around him. He hasn't quite peaked or done something super annoying like some other more famous writers or directors or that kind of thing. Like they'll do something and then I don't know.
What am I? I love Neil Gaiman. I read almost everything he writes. I did. I got into for a while there, listening to the novels on CD or Audibles or whatever.
Yep.
And one of his short story collections, I got that, and he actually narrated the whole book. And he had like a little foreword but before each short story, kind of explaining his idea and how the story came about, which you think, okay, well that'd be kind of cool. But listen to him talk about how he came up with the story and everything. It came off of him, well, to me it seemed like he was so full of himself that I had almost kind of wished that it was just the short stories, which I don't hold it against him. I mean, he's had way more success than I'll ever see, so I'm sure he's in his full right to to kind of bask in his fame. But I think there it's kind of a pitfall for some writers. I mean, they're trapped in a room by themselves for the majority of their life, in their own head, writing their stories. So you can't really blame them too much for being a little full of themselves.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm a very much an avid fan of Audible, and I have over the years for a long time. And sometimes if they do a Q&A at the end of a book, sometimes it's a lot more intimate and a lot more intense than you would be used to, like for a talk show or a variety show or something like that, like where there's like the only other thing that would come close to would be like maybe sometimes you see like a really good YouTube interview, and a shout out to our interview about we're talking about it, where we interviewed Joe Lansdale. We'll put that in the description for everyone to check out. But after had to toot our own horn there for a little bit, but sometimes those Q&A, that interview is just a very deeper level conversation about their works or their thinking, and sometimes it's not always there. I wish they would do more of that sometimes, because you'll read a novel or something and then you'll be like, oh, how does that fit in with that? Like Andy Weir wrote The Martian, and it was famously made into another movie. This was a while ago, but he also did not a follow-up book, but another completely book on its own. It would have just been interesting to kind of hear, or like I guess what would be asking for would be like a Audible extras or whatever, like that you would get with the audiobook that would be separated from the book, because I don't want to hear that sometimes. I agree with you. It's like sometimes I'm in the mood and I want to know more background and but don't just like tack it on there, because like one, nobody's going to find it, and two, it might not be what you want to hear, or it just might not be something you're interested in. I agree with you there. Like sometimes I want to hear it, most of the time I don't. Like I'm good with that, but Neil Gaiman is definitely a great author of our time for sure. But I don't think he makes anything bad that I've written or read yet. But with that, and I think that kind of bring us to the doorstop here for our for our comic book section. And what do you want to dive next to?
I have a TV recommend. I
Sure.
haven't told you yet. I took the plunge last night and watched the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Brave New Worlds.
Okay. Cool.
Or Strange New Worlds, okay. It's a definite recommend. I quite enjoyed it. It takes place right before, I guess, Kirk took over the Enterprise. I guess it takes about 10 years prior to Kirk taking over. It's Chris Pike and Spock commanding the Enterprise, and the guy that plays Chris Pike, Anson Mount, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's really good. I think he's what really draws me to this show. He is his
Heard that.
charisma. His charisma is much like a young William Shatner, and he's definitely not Picard. He's kind of fly by your seat kind of guy that kind of plays fast and loose with everything. And it's I have not seen Discovery or Picard, but from what I understand, this is very much more episodic, much like the original Star Trek.
Okay.
The first two episodes are sort of self-contained stories, and what I find interesting is Christopher Pike has had a vision of his own death
Okay.
that's coming. So there's sort of this interesting play of mortality and his struggles with that, and it makes for a very interesting show. I enjoy the actor that plays Spock, and they have a lady playing Uhura, and then I think the rest of the cast is original characters.
Now, is that TOS Uhura, the character, or is it a different
As far as I
version of
know,
Uhura?
yes, she's a cadet in this, so yeah.
Okay,
That's her.
cool. All right, yeah, I've seen the buzz about this a little bit, and I actually saw. I was actually wondering myself. Usually, like when a new series comes out, because it looks like it just came out. When a new one comes out, like they usually like. At least they did this with Picard, and I know they did this with Discovery, like where they would put the first episode or the first couple episodes for free on YouTube, and you could watch them. And I did see that they did that with this one.
Yep,
And
I did see that too. Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting, very interesting. I would be, I'll probably want to wait a little bit to check this one out.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
yeah. The one guy I follow that does do reviews of TV and comic books. He when he was originally reviewing Discovery, it was back when he was also drinking whiskey, and he would get a bottle of whiskey and watch an episode of Discovery because that was the only way he could get through the episode, and do a review of it. And so he only made it through, I think, the first 2 or 3 seasons of Discovery and had to quit. And I think he didn't even make it through the first season of Picard, but but he's seen these first 2 episodes and recommends it like me.
Okay, yeah, I had heard a couple of things about this one versus the other ones. Like I did watch the first season of Discovery. I tried really hard to stick with it. And that was like when it came out, and I think they released it every week. And I watched up through like 2/3 of the season, and then I kind of fell off, and then I went back up and caught up. But I didn't go on to season 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. I had no interest, and I'll leave it there. And Picard, I did see season 1. I did see half of that, but I stopped there because not that I've actually heard that season 1 of Picard is actually engaging and interesting, and then it goes from there. But I didn't keep up with it, and I don't think I probably would. But I had heard that Kurtzman, who was responsible for Discovery and for Picard, made this as a kind of like a way to kind of pull it back and give something back to the the fans in a way, but not in a negative way, but in a way of like, hey guys, we know, boy, Deep Space Nine was considered dark, but from what I've seen from the outside looking in, of course, the commentary on Picard and on Star Trek Discovery it's many things. But one thing that I have heard, they're both very, very dark, very Deep Space Nine. I think was dark to a great effect, and Ronald Moore had a lot to do with that too. And then maybe we can get into that later in the track. It's good to hear that. So you enjoyed it.
The first episode really had the kind of old school vibe of the original series.
Okay.
Except with a super high budget, and then the second episode was pretty good, except the ending. There seemed to be, maybe I overlooked something, but there was some flaws as far as continuity, as far as what actually happens at the end. It seems like maybe they skipped a scene or something.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, there's you can probably nitpick. It's not a perfect show. There's certain things you can probably nitpick, and
what season one show is. We're learning that as we do it on our Trek show, on our other show on Fridays.
Right. Yeah. And and since this is supposed to take place before the original series, they sometimes do stuff that was like, well, why wouldn't they have done that in the original series if they could do it here? Sort of kind of things. But you kind of have to think, okay, well, I guess they have to do it for a modern audience as well. So
interesting, very cool. I had one of the things, watching Discovery, like the first half of the series, or the first couple episodes, I actually got more attached to the side characters that didn't go anywhere, than the main characters or whatever. Like, I just thought, like, boy, how different would have been had they done like all the characters that were minor or considered minor in the first, couple episodes of Discovery. I wonder what the show would have been, because I think it would have been a lot more Trek-like than how it ended up. But that it's its own show, and it's a new era, and it's cool that there's this one. I've also heard that Below Decks is entertaining to watch. I've heard positive things about that, but I'm not sure. But that interesting. I'll have to check this one out. And so this is a recommend. Just for good entertainment. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Well, it's like they got to keep making hopefully new content good. And you know what? There's an art to this thing, and then there's a certain kind of voice they got to find. If they can find it and they can latch onto it, just like any other one. And who knows? Like, maybe it'll be. I try not to get, because I don't even know what canon is anymore. Honestly, I have no idea like what canon is over here or over there. About the only one that I understand canon on is comic books. But that's taken with a very big grain of salt, a very big boulder of salt, because you understand with comic books that, like I was just saying or mentioning, like sometimes powers are maxed out, and sometimes there are none. Like they're just interesting. Okay, cool, awesome. Not to belabor the point or whatever, but to get into like that brings us to our next from the small screen to the mobile screen. I would say that brings us to your YouTube recommendation for the week.
Yeah. ReignBot. She's sort of she likes to investigate the creepier aspects of YouTube and the world, and there's several little interesting stuff in there. But yeah, her stuff comes out like whenever she gets a video done. She doesn't have a certain schedule. But yeah, there's she likes to cover internet mysteries. She also there's certain like ARGs that happen. I forget what ARG stands for, but basically those are like games, the real life games that people put out into the world that you kind of pick out little clues to, and it kind of tells a narrative, but you have to tie in with actually I guess maybe we could go into ARGs a little bit more later on. I wasn't
No, you're
prepared
good.
to go to it, but yeah. So
Yeah,
uh,
we'll circle back. No big deal.
but yeah, so she just does like little interesting things, like she'll investigate like interesting YouTube channels, bizarre YouTube channels. If there's like
Okay.
a mystery about them, she'll investigate and debunk if they're real or not. That's a lot of her content's like that. Lately she's been getting into like real life disappearances and kidnappings of people, and that haven't been solved. And she kind of goes over those. But yeah, she kind of goes over a little bit of everything. Like I said, she'll go over like some, like she has one on the weird TikTok lady, but yeah, anything that's kind of weird and creepy, she'll she'll do a video on.
This is very we definitely have an A&E section of our YouTube recommendations for like these docu series, kind of like these
Hmm.
in search of kind of type things. Like these
Hmm.
are always cool in my book. Like that's always cool. Like some of them
Hmm.
look legit spooky. Like that same
Yep.
phenomenon is like To Catch a Killer or the
Hmm.
podcast on serial killers or
Hmm.
different things. I know that's I don't know what genre it is. Maybe it doesn't have it, but they have them.
Hmm.
They have these podcasts like where they'll go through and kind of document like over a very long period of time. That's
Yeah.
just essentially an audio documentary on some
Hmm.
bizarro or weird crime or killer or
Hmm.
something like that. Just interesting, cool. This is a good one. I'm gonna subscribe. Very cool. Awesome, cool. Well, with that, with mine, unless you had anything else to add
No. Yeah.
to to add, but kind of going from there, like this is a NerdCookies is like one that this is kind of like a sub genre of YouTuber who will take they'll pick a few core content, typically like sci-fi, science fiction, or fiction in general, and they'll become like that'll be kind of become their thing, their coverage, and then they'll cover more in-depth aspects of it as far as it relates to the character, the books, the story, the technology, the tools. Like I got quite a few like that, like where they'll go just don't any kind of like nerdy kid thing that you could think of, like how did that ship work, or kind of how did this work, or that kind of thing. Um, there's some nerd out there, and God bless them, because I love the content that will go deep into it. NerdCookies is one of the newer ones that I've come across,
Hmm.
and it's primarily like I kind of caught on primarily for her Dune content, and but it's just very well put together. I like how it can weave. That can talk about the movie side of something, and then like the other original side of it. And it looks like
Hmm.
she's been doing this for a while. I don't know how long, but I've been a subscriber since I don't know, probably around the time we started our podcast, probably around that time.
Okay.
But I
Hmm.
always look for these kind of nerd things. It's just pure entertainment. They're about 10 minutes long or so. And actually,
Hmm.
she was live earlier in the week, and I got a chance to do like the super chat thing.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Uh-huh.
and I shouted out, hey, I shouted out our channel, and I just wanted to kind of feed more folks her way. Like it's just a just a good solid channel.
That's
Uh,
cool. Mhm.
but in any case, that's what I had from that standpoint. And anything else this week? I think we're coming to the end of our show.
Yeah, I think that tackles everything.
Cool. Awesome. Well,
Mhm.
and like we all said, this is our new format. This show is on Wednesdays, and if we could do a shout out for our show for Friday, for our Star
Yep.
Trek Next Generation. It's Thomas's first watch through,
Mhm.
and his reactions to those and his thoughts. And it'll be very even more interesting with that bracketed with that new show too. That'll
Yeah.
be that'll be good. It'll be good Trek deeper content for sure.
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Well, again, guys, like, comment, subscribe, dislike. That's okay too. You can
Hmm.
tell us. But if you want to see more content, what are your recommendations? What are you reading this week?
Mhm.
We'd always love to hear more.
Yep.
Cool.
See you guys.
Take care.